Hello all, it's me again, Zen Gorilla, and welcome back to my channel. Now I'm doing another one of what if a Transformer story. Again, not following any script, any lore, no nothing, not following animations or anime, no nothing. So let's get into this video, shall we? The war for Cybertron was about to begin, and it would be glorious. But preparations for our war would have to be made first. Megatron was building a secret army. I was waiting as his second in command. In the public eye, Soundwave is his second, and I am the third. But on paper, I was the second in command. Soundwave knew this, and he did not mind. He had his minicons get information on the Autobots, on their movements, to see what they are doing, mostly. Me and Megatron stayed in the arenas. Megatron finally got pulled out of the arenas due to his leader status. I became the new champion in his place. I no longer got any boos in the arenas. But when I entered, the crowd went silent. As if I was a newbie, if I was new to this whole charade. Eventually, walking into the arena was Typhus. Typhus the Destroyer. Typhus was an oddity. He was much larger than any other of our compatriots. Large and bulky, slow-moving, but packs one hell of a punch when it comes to it. His automatic firearm would shred any foes to pieces. But first, I needed to teach him a lesson. In size isn't everything. He looked down upon me. For all rights and purposes, he towers above me. Severely so. I am only a quarter way up his leg. That's how tall he is. Typhus, the Destroyer, looks down at me and tells me that I am not worth his time. He deserves someone proper to fight, someone like Megatron, not some weak little pup that has recently hatched, grown out of his hatchling stage. I mock him, saying, a big bruiser like yourself couldn't even hit the broadside of a cruiser. That comment alone angered him enough, causing him to transform. I appear to not have the picture with me. Oh well, please forgive me on that one. But he transforms into a tank. A tank. As if that would save him. But after a while I realized that tank form of his, he is virtually impenetrable and invulnerable. But then I realized, as I was running around his outside, I even had to transform to get ahead of his turret's blast. The fire. I went around him, transformed once again, and slid to a stop as his turret turned towards me. That's when I noticed it. a giant hole in his back where his fuel canisters were. Perfect. I thought to myself, if I hit that area, he will have to de-transform from his vehicle mode into his robot mode and fight me face to face. So I charged, transforming into my vehicle and driving as fast as I can to avoid his turret's blaster fire. I get there. I use my hammer and smack his fuel canisters so hard it causes them all to blow up. He retransforms himself into his true mode, his robot mode. He then shouts in anger, "No bug has ever done that to me. No bug will ever do it again after you." Typhus then raises his massive hand, big enough to crush me, and full on forces it straight down to where I was standing. I barely managed to dodge out the way as his hand impacted the ground where I stood. I get up again with my hammer and run towards him again. He then lifts his hand up, opens his hand, then swipes, trying to grab me and crush me. Oh, the fool. I allowed him to catch me, and when he was about to start crushing me, he made the fatal mistake of leaving my hammer arm open to move. As he moves me closer to his head. Now was my time to strike. I just needed to wait a few seconds longer, as Typhus then is face to face with me, as he says, "Die and join the all-spark in the afterlife, weakling," as he begins to start putting pressure on my gears. I swing my hammer. Typhus barely noticed it at first. Once he saw it coming, it was too late. It was seconds away from impacting his ugly mug. And when it made contact, the hammer imprinted itself into his face, knocking out one of his optics completely. So he became Typhus, the partially blinded. The screams of him when he fell over, holding on to his empty eye socket where his optic should be. As he gets back up in pain, saying, "You'll pay for that." As I rushed him again, aiming for his joints, smashing them with my hammer. I thought make him forcefully go to his knees. Then he tries to punch me again with his hand, and I simply smack it to the ground with the hammer. Then he points his weapon at me and riles up his main guns. I activate my shield, and the blast alone was enough to send me skidding backwards, if only a little. He then tries to get back up again. I run, smash his knee joints in. He falls, then I smash both of his arm joints. He can no longer use his weapons. The only weapon he has left was his forehead, but even he wasn't crazy enough to try and wield his own head to defeat a guy with a hammer. As he says, I yield defeat to you." I mock him by saying, "Now who's the weakling? Size isn't everything." As he just simply says, I... I... Sorry. Don't apologize to me, warrior. Get a medical capsule, a big enough one for him. As I leave, the crowd still silent, but all of them were standing on their feet, intently looking at me, watching me as I leave the arena. A medical team came to get Typhus, the partially blinded destroyer, and they dragged him off. But before he left, and before I even left too, he shouts, "What is your name?" As I look over to him, saying, "My name is Shadow, the Unbreakable." Shadow, the Unbreakable. I will follow you into hell if I have to. You have proven yourself to be more of a warrior than I could ever be. As I just simply shout back, "All hail Megatron," with everybody repeating it in the arena, along with Typhus. All hail Megatron. I leave the arena completely and head up to Lord Megatron himself. As I enter his personal chambers, saying, "Megatronus," with Megatron immediately turning around from his little stand, as he looks at me with intent in his eyes. As he walks up, I bow before him, as he says, "Rise, my friend. There's no need to bow. We are alone here. So that means formalities are out the way. So, Shadow, I see you spared that one." The question caught me off guard. I even questioned myself, why did I spare him? But I pushed the thought to the back of my mind as I respond to Megatronus' questions, as I just simply replied to him saying, "Megatronus, you wanted strong warriors. He is strong-willed, and he will prove instrumental to our war with the Autobots when the time comes." With Megatron's grin, I get the message that he has already planned something ahead of schedule. As I finally click, "You want to cause a ruckus, don't you?" With him nodding, saying, "With your talents, as a brute, same as me, you are one of my symbiote circle, of only containing you and Soundwave. You are truly my lieutenants. Shockwave and Starscream are my second lieutenants. But they will never be as strong as you or Soundwave." I simply reply, "Megatronus, I get what you're trying to get at with the Autobugs. But could we start bombing them again to get them to realize that there's something going on?" "No, my friend." Megatron's voice booms through his chambers. With that answered, I simply move on to my next question. "How will we proceed then, Megatronus?" With Megatronus replying swiftly, with him saying, "How do we proceed? We build up our army. I've already got loyalists who are loyal to the Decepticon cause, causing trouble in Autobot City, aka Iacon. Those have been driven out, but there's a small shanty town of Autobots that I want eliminated. Take yourself, and a few of your brutes to that arena, to that little shanty town. I want it eliminated. I bow, saying, with all due haste, Megatron, nothing will stand in your way. I leave, grabbing a few of my most strongest of champions for the arenas, all apart from Typhus himself, still in a medical capsule, healing from the damage I gave him. Grindor and Blackout followed, along with a platoon of Decepticon warriors. We boarded dropships and left. We went to that little shanty town. The Autobugs that were there were not expecting an attack from Decepticons. They saw us as brothers, still unaware that there was about to be a war, and we Decepticons were no longer their brothers, but their enemies. We played it off as all of us just visiting the shanty town just to have a little break. And when everybody was lulled into a false sense of security, we found the police forces silently rounded them up and killed them, silently, crushing their stupid faces, crushing them between our hands. Then we moved in, firing our weapons, crushing Autobugs that were unaware of our true nature. The shantytown leader ran out. He screams about what is going on down there. He comes down to find my hammer crushing one of his guards. With him then rushing back inside, I run after him. After a few hours, the shantytown was in ruins, and the Prime Minister, or the leader of this little shantytown, was dangling by a spark that was snuffed out. We then claimed it in the name of Kaon. But then I realized something. If they see the symbol of us Decepticons, they'll immediately get an attack ready. I told them all to wipe the memory cores of the Autobugs, so there's no record of us attacking them. They'll just think that it was local bugs that got riled up somehow and attacked them. Because we were actually on the edge of the Sea of Rust. Not directly in the Sea of Rust itself, but near it. The Sea of Rust, a pit of yellow and brown, with long-forgotten civilization there. After some experiment turned that place into a Sea of Rust as it was now. It used to be a vibrant city. Now look at it, rusting away. Oh well. We did our jobs. We wiped all the memory cores clean of the Autobugs. Then we left immediately. I gave a tip off the barricade and told him to never check the memory cores of the Prime Minister, because I couldn't reach it in time. Barricade sent me a message saying, "Don't worry, I'll get it." I thanked him as he said, "No problem. Just get out of there before we arrive." As I send him another one back saying, "We're already gone. Take care, brother." Barricade then turned up with RC 5 hours later with hands of Autobot police officers. Barricade sent me a message afterwards, saying their faces were of horror. They never saw a shanty town get ripped apart like that. It's almost like brutes went through there. Everybody laughed at the report that I got told by Barricade over the comms. I reported it straight back to Megatronus. Megatronus himself smiled maniacally, saying, "Good. With the Autobots now thinking that there are bugs in the Sea of Rust, there'll be no shanty towns ever near there." I then decreed to Megatron, "Why don't we make a little base near the Sea of Rust?" With Megatron considering the options, as he then says, "Not yet. I want all of our forces at full capacity." I agreed. We then consolidated our forces. A few more shanty towns here and there. The Autobots started to get very suspicious. The Barricade was getting all this information from an anonymous tipper. Finally, the day came for Barricade to leave the police force, as he would just say he's retiring early. He's going to live the rest of his life in Kaon, destroying pathetic fools to try and make the place a little bit safer. Once again. Oh, the poor Autobot fools believed his little lie. He left and bowed before Megatron before the pits of Kaon. Megatronus said, "Rise, Barricade. We have work to do." We all cheered for Megatron and Barricade. But soon the cheers died down as I walked in. Megatron, noticing this, began getting suspicious of me. But when I reported to him, his suspicions were lifted. As I told him the reports of the army, as I said, the army report, 50% ready. Our sympathizers are slowly leaving Autobot City, or should I call it Iacon, Master. As Megatron would just say, "Good. Prepare all forces for an attack. Where is Starscream?" As everybody looks at each other, saying, "We don't know." Then I had the wise idea of tapping into Autobot transmissions. There had been reports of activity in an old abandoned facility high up in space above Cybertron. As I reported to Megatron, saying that Starscream appeared to have left to an old abandoned facility up in space. Not Trypticon Station, but another station, larger than the one he was on. It might be the true Trypticon Station. As Megatron seethed with anger. Starscream never met Megatron in combat, but he doesn't know anything about Megatron's combat prowess. So Starscream would probably think that Megatron's just a pushover, and I only follow him due to whatever reasons of respect. So, Megatron gathered all of his allies. Starscream was ousted from the Decepticon ranks for now. So, the war was about to begin. The Autobots realized that tons of other bots were heading into Kaon. The Autobots started preparing themselves for the inevitability of war. And war soon came. Like thunder from the sky, we attacked. The Autobot outposts, barricades, fortresses. We attacked everywhere at once. The Autobot flyers were dashing all around us. Our own Seekers were firing at the Autobot flyers. We then had our own warships rise up and fly all over our planet of Cybertron. Cybertron truly became a war zone with only one respite place, Kaon. I had people build a massive facility for Lord Megatron to keep all Autobot prisoners. All the Autobots that surrendered to us were taken into custody for the betrayal of Cybertron. I found it amusing. I was on the front lines. I was fighting. I crushed everything in my way. Eventually, we stopped, come to a stalemate. We were then going into trench warfare. Zeta Prime covered all Autobot forces together, rallied them. Then Optimus Prime began leading them with brutal countercharges. The war for Cybertron became nothing more than a death sentence for anybody who even dared pop their head over the trench lines. Snipers on both sides would pick each other off for days at a time. Artillery barrages would bomb each trench line on both sides of the war. Our fighter superiority lacked the firepower. Whatever ground we gained, we lost it 2 days later. The war was starting to take its toll. Megatron needed an equalizer. But luckily for him, he was doing some research. He found out something truly remarkable. The station that held Starscream also held a very dark secret. Dark Energon. Blood of Unicron. Unicron, the Chaos Bringer. Our master said we could use the station to harvest this dark energon from Cybertron. The Energon Bridge used to power the station. And that station was Trypticon itself. This facility that I beat Starscream at was not the real Trypticon station. That massive station was Trypticon. So, I rallied 100 warriors with Megatron. We boarded a cruiser. The battlefield was shifting for the Autobots' favor as we left. Decepticons were in highly defensible positions, but their positions would not last against such an onslaught of Autobugs. Typhus the Destroyer fell that day, but he took 1,000 Autobots out with him as he crashes to the ground. His final act, self-destruction, wiped out a whole platoon of Autobugs, but unfortunately wiped out some of our own bunkers and men along with it. Typhus, you fool. For the short time I have known him, he was an inspiration to the Destroyers. But then he goes and destroys a quarter of our own defenses. The damnable fool. But anyway, we head towards the real Trypticon station. Our blood and oil was pulsating through our gears. All Decepticon warriors were ready to fight. One person stood up to Megatron after he made a suicidal order. So I ran up as we crash into that station. I was the first to get my optics back up and running again. The ship's reactor core was going critical. Megatron was pinned, but unconscious, trying to get himself out of the situation. Barricade and Brawl were both unconscious, who I didn't realize were actually on the ship we were both on. So I first went to Megatron and said, "Master, I am here to aid you." As he would look at me saying, "I was wondering where you were. You have remarkable good timing." I just simply replied saying, "Thank you, Master. But for all means, Megatron, we need to get you out of here." As I lift up the metal that was pinning him, as he crawls out, I administer quick first aid, quickly rebooting his circuitry in his legs. As they got back to 100%, he then orders me to pick up Barricade and Brawl and drag their unconscious bodies towards that huge entrance point where a ton of Decepticon soldiers were actually pouring through. I eventually get there just in the nick of time with Megatron. Barricade and Brawl see the explosion as they come back online. Both of them panic, thinking they're about to get crushed, but luckily the piece of metal that was flying towards us barricaded us inside of a room. As Starscream himself appeared on a holovid, as he would say, "I am Starscream, and I will defend my station. I never wanted to join you Decepticons." As Megatron then tells him the story that he used to be a Sky Commander, and that he was betrayed. With Dark Energon, he could restore Cybertron to its former glory, and him to his, if he would serve Megatron. With Starscream being a fool, says, "You're a fool. No one can control Dark Energon." Megatron scoffed saying you say that as if you have not tried it before. Megatron then looks at me as I nod. As I walk towards the door, I hear banging, almost as if someone was breaking in. I back off, activating my shield and bringing out my hammer for a full frontal assault. As the door eventually blows itself apart, as Decepticon warriors rush in, saying, "All hail Lord Megatron." With Decepticons still lining up, saying, "All hail Lord Megatron." We eventually get to an impasse where Decepticon warriors were getting shredded by sentry guns. I quickly dealt with those sentries with my own weapon, a shotgun. A shotgun that I used to very effective ranges. I crushed them all. Megatron, Barricade, Brawl, and myself all then went into a large open room. As we saw Autobots, as they turned out to be Starscream's troops from the Autobot side. As they said, "Cut them off in storage area Beta." Then Brawl made the sarcastic comment, "Oh, looky, the welcome wagon." They were nothing but welcome scrap after we dealt with them. Megatron tossing one of them over his shoulder, then ramming him into one of his comrades, then crushing both of their skulls with his foot. Me, shotgun blast to the face of one Autobug, then the hammer to the groin of another, then a kick to the face. Overhead slam of the hammer, crushing his spark within his chest, causing him to explode in a fiery glory. Glorious, just glorious. I then saw one Autobug try to punch Barricade in the face as I threw my hammer. Brawl threw his hammer too, with spikes on it, as both of our hammers collide with this Autobug's face, crushing it in its entirety. I grab my hammer as Brawl grabs his, as we both lock arms with each other, saying that was perfect timing for both of us. Barricade, saying thank you for the save. I never saw that bug coming to me to kill me. Then we saw RC and her sisters. All three of them transformed from their vehicle modes as they looked at all four of us, as RC shouted "traitor" towards Barricade, as Barricade simply said, "I was always a traitor. I was always loyal to Megatron." In my mind, I was saying, Megatronus is the true leader, but I wish RC joined us with her sisters. They would have made powerful allies. But Megatron then spoke up, saying, "Decepticons, mobilize! We take this station!" I agree with Megatron and move. As soon as we find a way up and around the ambush through the next door, as soon as we get up there, through the roof, I see Starscream once again, as he would get a report saying, "Starscream, the ambush is set. They won't make it past us." "I shall hold you to that, soldier." "Yes, sir." with Brawl then cracking a joke saying, this is almost too easy. As there was a button saying drop. As I dropped the canister onto those Autobugs' heads, causing 3 of them to die in an explosion. I then find myself a sticky shotgun that fires sticky explosive rounds. I fired it once and it stuck to 5 others. I watched the 5 explosions with impunity. I then decided to get rid of that shotgun for an assault rifle, for a pulse rifle. And a pulse rifle was more my style. I ran, headlong, firing away. I saw other Autobugs on the catwalks above us. I smashed out the supports with my hammer, causing the whole thing to collapse on top of me. My worst mistake I've ever made. But it worked in the end, as I busted through the floor. As I swung my hammer towards the first Autobot, crippling his leg. I swung my shield arm out as a shield appeared, as an Autobot smashed itself into it, sending it flying. I pulled my hammer out of the Autobot's leg and turned my arm into my pulse rifle, shoot him once in the face, killing him instantly, then pulling out my hammer again with my shield, crushing, bashing, slamming, all Autobugs in my way. And then I heard, "Shadow!" Turned out to be Megatron, as he hugs me, saying, "Thank God you're alive," in front of Barricade and Brawl, which both of them were confused, as I simply said, "Lord Megatron, as your third in command, you shouldn't be showing me such emotional support." And hang on, guys, I'll be back in a mo. As Megatron finally let go of me, Barricade and Brawl looked, but then looked away, as I told them not to speak of this again to anyone. So I told them the truth. Soundwave already knows this, but I am truly Megatron's second in command. You answer directly to me, or Megatron, or Soundwave. As Barricade and Brawl then both nod, saying, "Aye, sir." Good. Now move it, you maggots. As we all charge through the door that opened up, Starscream once again made his appearance, saying, "Megatron, you've made it this far, but you still won't get your hands on the Dark Energon. And I will make sure that my personal guards will make sure you'll never survive." As I shout at him, "Starscream, you pathetic little buffoon. You might want to check your next words carefully. You're not too far away to crush." As he would say, "Shadow, you're so-called unbroken. You're more of a lapdog to Megatron than anything else. You could be ruling the Decepticons. I would follow you willingly, but Megatron I will not follow." As I looked towards Megatron, he would look towards me, as I would then refine and tell Starscream, "I would never rule the Decepticons. Lord Megatron is the only one worthy of doing that. If you think you're so better of a leader, come down here and face us. like a true warrior instead of being a coward. I bellowed that as loud as I could to get through the glass. Towards his, again, hollow vid, with him bellowing back at me, saying, "You are not even worth my time." As I bellowed back at him, saying, "Of course I'm not, you coward. You're more worried about this precious little station of yours." As he cuts off. As we get over the communication devices, it was Soundwave, telling Megatron that his forward base is 5.3%, 53.3% complete, with Megatron bellowing down his comm unit. "I expect it operational by the time I arrive, Soundwave." As Megatron says that, Soundwave just says, "Yes, Lord Megatron." I then leave with Megatron, Brawl, and Barricade. Brawl and Barricade both laughing at Starscream's insignificant posture, with Brawl saying, "Megatron, when this is over, could I rip off Starscream's head and boot it into space, please?" "Patience, Brawl. Starscream knows this station inside and out. He may yet be of use to us, even if he is a bumbling buffoon." I laughed at Megatron's comment of Starscream silently. Didn't want to anger him too much today. As he turned to me, saying, "Shadow, the Unbreaker, this is your moment. Lead a charge into this facility with the Decepticons when we reach Soundwave, as you decree, my master." As I escort them both, all three of them, to Soundwave. As Soundwave reports directly to Megatron, as I take a platoon of Decepticon warriors. As we head deeper into the facility, we then find the barrels of some strange substance. As I call Megatron, he then comes down to me, as he then says, "This, my brother," as he strokes the top of the lid of what this strange substance is. As he says, "This is the Energon we are here for, the Dark Energon." As I say, then repeat myself, saying, "All hail Lord Megatron. We must secure this now." As we all secure the area, Megatron then leaves. Autobugs then launch a counterattack into the very area we are in, so my soldiers and I hold them off. One of them finally reveals themselves to me. Turns out to be one of the 4 RC twins, before it got cut down to the 3 RC twins. Or the RC Forresons, or whatever the hell they call themselves. The 4 girls. Power, I don't care enough. She came speeding towards me, started fighting me. Whoops, sorry guys. As she fights me, hand to hand, cutting me, breaking a few circuits here and there, cracking one of my optics open. But I crushed her head after that, ripping off her arms, kicking her lower legs out, ripping them off afterwards. Her screams filled the hall, as I then grabbed her with both of my hands and applied pressure. Her screams turned into gargled gags as her voice box and her head imploded in sparks. I then dropped her lifeless, sparking corpse to the floor. As Megatron called me up, saying he needs help, he would not call this of others, but only for me, considering we are brothers after all. Brothers of the arena. I dictate to my warriors of what they need to do. Secure areas, continue moving forward. So I made my way to Megatron afterwards. With my Decepticon warriors moving forward, I made my way to Megatron's location to find he was having problems with a brute, an Autobot brute. I charged the brute, smashing his shield with my hammer, causing him to turn to look at me. I then goaded him, saying, "Come on, come and get me, you weak, withering husk." As this brute swung his hammer, it wasn't brilliant, but he managed to hit me in my chest. But luckily I've been hit by worse. Megatron's mace, for instance. So I swung my hammer at him. But I didn't aim for his chest. I aimed for his head, as I knocked it clean off of his body. Sent it flying into another Autobot that decided to make his presence known, as his head popped clean off too. As Megatron shouts in victory, saying, "That's how you win a war and win a fight." With Barricade and Brawl both clapping, saying that was impressive display of brutality. Megatron, truly glad to see me, says, "Well done, brother. Now let's move. Our prize awaits us." We make our way through the facility, eventually have to make our way through a furnace, with Barricade making a remark saying, "Do you think it's a truly good idea of making our way through a furnace?" With Megatron talking, saying, "Do you not find it concerning that I might tire of your pointless chatter?" The most best banter between those two yet. As we make our way through the facility, we see Starscream's massive crater, which Megatron finally got intel from Soundwave. As it turns out, it was a portion of Dark Energon that became unstable, and the resulting explosion devastated this part of the station. Brawl and my wavelengths were on the same page. Dark Energon did all this. The fools didn't know how to control it. That's what Megatron said. I said to myself, "Megatronus, what is your true plan right now?" As we made our way through this devastated station, the Autobots sent their flyers in. Those flyers were annoying, but easy to take out. Megatron ripped one of them out of the sky, and I ripped the other one out of the sky myself, with my bare hands, sending him into a pile of rubble. The exulting explosion blew me back a bit, but I managed to survive it. Megatron, Barricade, Brawl, and myself fought our way through the devastated areas, killing Autobot flyers, ordinary Autobots, hell, even through Starscream's personal guards, when we finally meet him again, in person. As he even remarks, "Impossible! No one has ever reached this place!" With Megatron decreeing, "You misunderstand, Starscream. I decide what is possible and what isn't." I chuckled to myself once again, saying, "Damn right. with Starscream saying, "Guards, hold him off while I destroy the last of the Dark Energon remnants." As the Autobots all charge towards us, we make our way down. We fight, we destroy, we crush. Me and Grohl standing side by side with our hammers as we crush any Autobot that comes into melee range. At one time, we both grabbed an Autobot by his arms and legs and ripped him in half. Then used his body parts to smack the other Autobots. Some were instantly retreating after seeing their comrade get ripped in half. I simply gunned them down with my pulse rifle, along with Grohl, who was doing the same thing. Eventually, turrets came online as we destroyed them. Then a door slid down, and behind that door was another door that Megatron told us to blast open. So we did. As Dark Energon poured forth in a wave, Megatron walked into it, Starscream saying, "You arrogant fool. No one has ever survived direct contact with the stuff." But as Megatron flew up into the ball of energy, of dark energy, he absorbed it all. Starscream started to panic, saying, "No, no one can control Dark Energon. It dominates and destroys everything it touches." With Megatron laughing maniacally, saying, I am the destroyer. I am Megatron. Decepticons, receive your birthright." As the three balls of energy impact us both, all three of us, with Brawl and myself, again on the same wavelength, thinking we can feel the power. It feels amazing. As Megatron declares that he alone will deal with Starscream. We make our way to the back of the small area we were in that leads to Starscream's personal combat control room. As the Autobots gather, they erect a barricade. Megatron simply uses the Dark Energon, the spikes, everything that comes out of them. The screams, the terror, the horrors. None of this concerned us. We were laughing all the way. Then we made it to Starscream's personal little fucking chambers. I told Megatron not to bother, as I used my hammer with both hands, blowing the doors wide open, creating a massive hole, enough to even fit a cruiser nearly through, to prove that Dark Energon was truly powerful. There, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Jetfire all stood, with Megatron exclaiming, "Dark Energon is mine. Through my will alone will Cybertron be restored." With Jetfire saying, "It's too unstable, Megatron. Using that power, you're endangering our entire world." With Starscream then saying, "Teach me, Megatron, and I think you can gather the rest." I was there when Starscream got told to reactivate the Energon Bridge for their new master. This time, Starscream's loyalty was confirmed. Because then he bowed before Megatron, saying, "All hail Megatron." As Megatron decrees, I was his handler, and I alone can, along with Megatron, can punish him. as I am Megatron's second in command. He will be placed directly under my direct supervision. I will be paying attention to his exploits as he reactivates the Dark Energon Bridge. With Starscream saying, "Yes, Master," as he leaves. Megatron, I, Growl, Barricade all watch as Starscream and his two lackeys leave. Megatron tells me that Dark Energon will need more Dark Energon to take Cybertron, to revive it. I dictate to Megatron, saying, "My lord, Starscream will betray us eventually. His loyalty may be assured for now, but once there's a power vacuum, he'll try and step into it to claim power for himself." As Megatron agrees, I then transform into a vehicle mode, but I realize that I am flying in the sky. Turns out Dark Energon changed me from a ground pounder to a flyer. As I de-transform into my robot mode, then try and transform again, I turn myself back into my vehicle form for the ground. The Dark Energon changed me. I am a triple changer now. I can turn between sky combat and ground combat. I fell in love with this new power. Megatron being truly amazed by the power of Dark Energon, detected that they needed more for their Dark Energon war machines. But first we needed Starscream to uphold his end of the bargain before he was truly part of the Decepticons. But anyway, guys, I am leaving it here. I hope you like and comment and subscribe. Peace.